the late 19th and early 20th centuries, the New Thought movement generated multiple periodicals. I'm happy to share some of these articles with you that seem relevant today. New Thought, or it was called a new era of thought, is essentially an esoteric perspective looking at metaphysics or the nature of reality and the power of the mind. Now we might call it the law of attraction, new age, maybe even magic. Also, it could maybe be called the occult, positivity, or mind-body. Please know that in the early 20th century, they were focused in on the ancient wisdom within the Bible, the most well-known book. This allows for a fresh perspective of this tiresome trome, an empowering perspective. In this article from the Nautilus magazine, published October 1946, I'm reading an article called How I Get Daily Dividends from Prayer by Judith Burden. Now, as you can tell from the title, this article is about prayer, and it is about the benefits or dividends that one may receive from prayer. Although she doesn't go into exactly the how of it, she writes about the powerful effects it had on her life. For me, words like prayer, meditation, and affirmation have a certain definition, a meaning, and we all have our own understanding of what they mean to each of us. If we look at the dictionary, there's a rather simplified version of each that doesn't really capture the depth or meaning. I think that the prayer that Mrs. Burden speaks of here is a form of meditation and affirmation. For me, prayer is talking to God or spirit. And meditation is listening and a way to process information and to connect. Affirmation is definitely a way of communicating directions to one's subconscious mind. And now here is the article. Nautilus Magazine, October 1943. How I Get Daily Dividends from Prayer by Judith Burden. Unless you have had the bitter, remorseful days of utter despair, adversity, and disappointment day after day in your life like I have had in so many days, months, and years of mine, you cannot really appreciate what beginning the day, each day, with prayer can do for you. At first, when I tried it, it seemed to create a certain amount of good for the day, but it was not noticeable enough to cause me to let it interfere with major plans if they apparently needed attention first. Then, suddenly, with no apparent cause on my own part, I began to realize confusion and disappointment on some days and success and pleasant events on others, and why, I asked myself, when there seemed to be no need for the unpleasant ones. It was then I began to check. To my utter amazement, I found the confusion was appearing on the days I did not take time to pray, and the better days on the days I took time for prayer in the early morning, regardless of how busy the ensuing day promised to be. I soon learned that the greatest rewards for the day came on the days when I did not meditate and pray hurriedly or madly just to say I did it, then to move on to something more exciting. Instead, the best events came on the days when I enjoyed the time spent in communion with the Creator and was thankful right then for the time I was privileged to spend with Him and for all the blessings He had given me that seemed to annex me to a thread that ran through the whole day with perfect harmony. Things would unexpectedly emerge from every side to make the day a better one, until I finally came to the conclusion that there was nothing that paid dividends like prayer. Of course, by now I am a definite believer in praising what I have to attract more of its kind, or increase its value in proportion to my need. And in the mornings during my half hour of meditation, I spend a goodly portion of that time in praise. I praise my increase in spiritual understanding. I praise my increase in wisdom, in material gains, home environment, health, or whatever it is that I am most concerned about at the time, and then watch the improvement. I cannot bless my things too much. I know this is the secret of happiness, and certainly the greatest investment I can make in any half hour devoted to anything, person, or project. If you have not long been a New Thought student, it may be hard to understand a law that requires blessing something that may aggravate or even seem to be an adversity. But don't let that disturb you. Start right in blessing it. Bless it so fast that your mind cannot let any other thought but a blessing creep in, and watch the results. It took me several years to bless my old furniture into 6 rooms filled with the kind I wanted, a small rented house into a lovely new home, old clothing into new apparel, my child through 2 years of college, unfriendliness in people to friendliness. But I've done all this. Praise is the key to abundance. It is the natural law for increase. It works through innumerable channels, and it works like magic. It has worked for many in all walks of life, and it will continue to work for many, many more. All you need to do to be one with them is to start. Then watch your blessings multiply. I know that for you too, there are dividends in prayer.